All right, so get this, listeners. For this deep dive you sent in, Meditación para reducir el estrés y la ansiedad PDF, guía gratuita.
Okay.
Now, my Spanish isn't the greatest, but I think that means a free guide to meditation,
Yeah.
for stress and anxiety. And I gotta say, the timing is perfect,
It
right?
really is.
I think we could all use a little bit less stress in our lives these days, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. What really stands out to me is how the guide addresses this universal need. I mean, everyone's feeling the pressure these days.
Yeah, totally.
It's like stress and anxiety are just built into modern life,
Like the package deal. Right. But here's the thing. Instead of just saying, like, chill out,
Right.
which, let's face it, is like the least helpful advice ever,
Absolutely.
this guide actually explains how meditation can, like, rewire our brains, so we can actually handle stress better.
Yeah,
Did you know that regular meditation can actually lower our cortisol levels?
I did. It's fascinating.
Which is the stress hormone that makes us feel all, like, tense and wired,
Yeah, definitely. But it's not just about feeling calmer on the surface, right?
Right.
What I find really interesting is how the guide emphasizes self-awareness.
Okay.
It explains that meditation helps us become more in tune with, like, our thoughts and feelings. And that's key to,
See why?
recognizing those stress triggers that we all have.
Oh, that's so smart, because once you know what sets you off,
Uh-huh.
you can start to, like, manage those situations differently, right?
Exactly.
Instead of just, like, reacting,
Right.
you have a choice.
Exactly. You gain that space between, the stimulus and your response. And that's where real change can happen.
I love that. Okay, so this guide doesn't just talk about meditation, like, in general, though.
Yeah.
It actually dives into different types of meditation, which I thought was really helpful. Mindfulness meditation.
Okay.
Have you heard of mindfulness meditation?
For sure. Yeah.
I feel like I hear that term everywhere these days, but the guide really breaks it down in a way that actually makes sense. It's all about being present in the moment
Right.
without judgment.
Yeah.
It's like observing your thoughts and feelings as they
Yes.
come up without getting all tangled up in them,
It's like watching clouds drift by.
Oh, I like that.
You see them, but you don't try to, like, control them
Right.
or judge them as, like, good clouds, bad clouds,
Right, right.
And the guide really emphasizes that non-reactive awareness.
Oh, that's good. And it also points out that, like, regular mindfulness practice can actually reduce, have you heard of mental rumination?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's that endless loop of, like, overthinking that can really, like, take your anxiety to the next level.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is the guide doesn't just tell us, like, what mindfulness is,
Yeah.
but it also gives us some techniques to actually, practice it, like focusing on your breath, noticing, the sensation of each inhale and exhale. That can be so powerful to, like, ground you in the present moment.
Oh, I love that. See, that's what I love about this guide. It's not just, like,
Yeah.
throwing around these fancy terms.
Huh.
It's giving you actual tools you can use,
Yeah, super practical. And speaking of practical tools, let's talk about guided meditation.
Okay.
This one is often, like, touted as a good one for beginners.
Okay.
Because it's like having a personal meditation coach right there in your ear, guiding you through the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
The guide even mentions using guided meditation PDFs, which
PDFs.
I know. In today's world, I'm thinking that probably means audio files, right?
Yeah. Who uses PDFs for audio these days?
Right. But I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's that idea of having someone guide you.
I think that sounds way less intimidating
Yeah, sure.
than just sitting there trying to empty your mind, which,
Yeah.
let's be real,
Yeah,
that's pretty much impossible,
it's tough.
especially for beginners.
But the guide does highlight that it's really important to, find reliable sources for those guided meditations. Not all guided meditations are created equal.
That's a good point. You probably don't want, like, some random YouTube video
Right.
with, like, terrible audio or some weird background music messing up your whole Zen vibe.
No, absolutely. Quality matters in terms of the content, but also the production.
Yeah.
And the guide actually specifically cautions listeners about being wary of poor audio quality because it can really detract from the experience. Like,
Oh.
you're trying to relax and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
there's a dog barking in the background or something.
Yeah, no thank you. I'm definitely taking notes on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got mindfulness meditation, we've got guided meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and last but not least, the guide introduces transcendental meditation.
Okay.
Now, this one's got a bit of a different vibe. It involves using a mantra. So like a specific word or sound that you repeat silently. What I find really interesting is that this technique, according to the guide, can lead to a super deep state of relaxation. And it can even have like measurable physiological effects, like reducing blood pressure.
It's powerful.
That sounds intense. But I'm guessing this isn't something you can just learn from a podcast, right?
That's true. The guide does mention that transcendental meditation requires instruction from, a teacher, someone who's experienced.
Okay, so not exactly a DIY meditation type,
Right.
but definitely one worth looking into if you're looking for something a bit more structured.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little mysterious, honestly.
And I think what's great is that the guide acknowledges that there's no, one-size-fits-all approach to meditation. It encourages readers to experiment and find the type that really resonates with them.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You do.
Exactly.
You find what works for you
Yeah.
and your unique needs. Okay, let's get real for a sec, though. How do we actually make meditation a habit? Because, I'm all about inner peace and, reducing stress.
Yeah.
But between work and family and trying to keep up with, a million social media accounts, who actually has time to meditate for, hours on end?
Right. And that's where this guide gets really interesting. It stresses the importance of starting small.
Okay.
You don't have to, dive into those hour-long sessions right away.
Right.
Even 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a difference,
That's doable.
especially when you're just getting started. It's more about consistency than duration,
Okay, so consistency over intensity.
Exactly.
Okay, so 5 to 10 minutes, that's not so bad.
Right.
That's actually doable.
Totally. And I think that's what makes this guide, so approachable. It doesn't make meditation seem like this,
Yeah.
big scary thing.
It's not like this huge commitment.
Yeah,
You can just, dip your toes in.
exactly. And then, you can always build up from there as you feel more comfortable.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's say I'm sold on the idea, right? I want to make meditation a habit. What are some, practical tips to actually make it happen? Because I feel like my brain is, basically wired for distraction.
Oh, I hear that.
So what do I do?
Well, the guide, it gives us some really helpful advice about creating, the right environment for your meditation practice.
Yeah.
It suggests finding a quiet space, right?
Right.
Somewhere you can be comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and minimize distractions.
So basically not in the middle of a crowded coffee shop
Yeah.
or, while my kids are having a dance party in the living room.
Probably not the best time. It's really about creating that sense of sanctuary,
Oh, I like that.
like a place where you can tune out all the external noise
Right.
and just tune in to your inner world.
A meditation sanctuary. I like it.
It is.
Okay, but what about, the distractions that are already in my head?
Mm.
The guide mentioned something called mental rumination.
Yes.
Which honestly kind of sounds like my default brain mode.
Right. And it's so common, especially these days. We're just constantly bombarded with information and stimulation.
Yeah, totally.
And mental rumination is that tendency to just get caught up in those repetitive thoughts,
Right.
Often those thoughts, they focus on our worries or
Yeah.
regrets
Yeah.
or anxiety.
Oh yeah, that's totally me. It's my brain is just stuck on repeat playing
Yeah,
the same stressful thoughts over and over again.
exactly.
So how does meditation actually help with that?
Well, mindfulness meditation in particular,
Okay.
it gives us a way to break free from those mental loops,
Yeah.
Instead of getting swept away by your thoughts,
Right.
you can learn to observe them with a sense of detachment.
So it's not about emptying your mind completely.
Not necessarily, no.
Because I always thought that was the goal of meditation.
Right.
To just have zero thoughts.
A blank slate.
Yeah.
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 But it's more about, just learning to observe your thoughts without
yeah.
judging them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the guide gives you specific techniques to kind of help you cultivate that,
Yeah, for sure.
non-reactive awareness.
Right. Focusing on the sensation of your breath
Okay.
can be really powerful to kind of bring your attention back to the present moment.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about how the guide really emphasizes the importance of high quality audio for those guided meditations.
Yeah.
I imagine that's especially important when you're trying to do,
Yeah.
mindfulness medication and you're really focused on your breath.
Absolutely. If you're trying to cultivate a sense of calm, a sense of focus, You know, you don't
Yeah.
want a scratchy recording or distracting background noise pulling you out of that.
Totally. It's like trying to relax in a noisy room. Like, it just doesn't work.
It defeats the purpose, right?
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, finding, good quality, reliable sources
Yeah.
for your guided meditations
That's important.
is
Yeah.
key. What about transcendental meditation, though? Remember, the guide said the one you need, like a teacher for.
Right.
I'm like a little curious about that one.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique approach. It uses like a specific mantra
Okay.
that a teacher actually gives to you.
Oh, wow.
So unlike mindfulness, where you're encouraged to kind of observe your thoughts,
Right.
transcendental meditation is more about focusing your attention on that mantra,
Okay.
which really helps to, quiet the mind and induce a state of deep relaxation.
So it's more about like focusing inward on a specific sound rather than trying to like block out all thoughts completely.
Exactly. And the guide does mention that it is a bit more specialized, than some other types of meditation.
Right.
And it really highlights the importance of finding a qualified teacher if you're interested in exploring it.
Okay.
It even suggests looking for, organizations or associations in your area that are dedicated to transcendental meditation.
So it's kind of like, you wouldn't just go to like any random person for a yoga class.
Yeah.
You want someone who has experience
Yes.
training.
So I want to know that they know what they're
And you
doing.
want to like, feel comfortable with them.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense that finding a teacher for transcendental meditation would be important too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got mindfulness meditation, we've got guided meditation,
Right.
we've got transcendental meditation. The guide really gives us a lot of options,
It does.
which is great. What about, though, people who are like, meditation, that sounds great, but I don't know if it's for me. Like maybe they have some like preconceived notions about what meditation is,
Yeah.
or they're worried that they're going to be bad at it.
It's a common concern.
What would you say to someone who is feeling like that?
I think the guide really addresses this beautifully. It reminds us that meditation is a practice,
Okay.
not a performance. There's no, right or wrong way to do it.
I like that.
And it's not about, reaching some kind of mystical state of enlightenment. Okay, so it takes the pressure off.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think a lot of people, get